The morning of September 2nd, 2023, Calvin Castine on the oval at the former Plattsburgh Air Force Base. The members of American Legion Post 912 have arrived, along with a few other folks. And we are awaiting the arrival. We've got lights here. I guess they're expecting it to be dark out. The arrival of veterans who will be heading for Washington, D.C. as part of the North Country Honor Flight in this Labor Day weekend event. It's a Saturday morning. Third double flight of the year. There will be one more before this season is over. And very shortly the veterans will start to arrive on a large parade of vehicles. Temperature in the upper 50s right now. A little cool for some of us, and some people tougher than others here, out here in shorts and short sleeve shirts. And there's Stan Ransom.
How you doing today?
Very good, Stanley. How you doing?
Oh, it's a great day.
It's a great day. All right.
Every day.
Every day is a great day.
How are you doing? I heard you.
Okay, we're talking to the man who does it all here. He does everything to get this going every time. He does it all alone. Absolutely no help.
Oh, no, I can
Mr.
tell
Barry
you.
Finnegan.
We've got some great volunteers, and each time it gets easier and easier. More and more people are showing up early, and I mean 4 o'clock early. And by 4:15, all the chairs were out here, all the flags were flying, the cones are out, and all the electronics were ready to go. And yeah, we got a great group of volunteers. Unbelievable.
If I get up at I got up at 10 of 5 today. That was early enough. I can't imagine being here at 4 o'clock.
Oh gosh, we actually enjoy it.
Yeah,
I think we spend more time talking and telling jokes than we do working, but it all gets done. That's the important part.
So apparently you were working in the dark for a while because you had some lights set up.
Yeah. We had the Kevin brings down the generator and the lighting, and boy, it lights up this whole parking lot. So that's a big plus. And even more important is that comes at night when we get back. When the buses unload, now they can see in the parking lot. So it's not only functional and easier to do, it's a safety thing too. So
well, sure. Now, 2 flights today, and I think I'm reading in the paper that flights are getting expensive, huh?
Oh my gosh. At first I said, well, maybe it's a temporary thing, but no, the charter flights, it sounds like a lot, but the company's also based out of Milwaukee, so they got to fly in here on Friday night and be ready, and then they got to fly back home after. So it's too bad to have to do that. SkyWest was working so well right here out of Plattsburgh, but now, of course, our airline flies to Philly, which doesn't do us any good at all. So it's strictly charter, a lot more expensive. I mean, at least 2.5, probably closer to 4 times as much sometimes. SkyWest took great care of us. So yeah, between the charters and everything else went up. The buses are now, they went from $1,000 a bus to $2,500 in 1 year.
Wow, that's a jump.
Yeah, everything did. The food, the breakfast and the lunch, the dinners, everything is more than doubled. So we're going through a period where we're holding our own because of the generosity in the North Country is unmatched. I mean, people just seem to step up all the time. And we've been very fortunate. My biggest worry is if a couple of those bigger fundraisers fall off, where are we going to go then? What do we turn to? So we're hoping the fundraisers continue, and if it's a yearly basis, this program will continue forever, I hope.
Yeah,
and
even if you got to cut down the number of flights, you got to do what you got to do.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
no, we're never gonna stop. That's for sure.
Rough dollar sign on today's flight is what would you throw out?
We put $34,000 per plane.
$34,000 per plane.
Per plane. Yes. So we spent $68,000 to get this thing off the ground today.
Ouch.
Yeah. By the time you add in the lunch and the dinner and the jackets and the hats and everything else that goes along with it, the proud part is all of the donations that do come in and all the fundraisers that get done. Everything goes towards putting those veterans on that plane.
Right.
It's not a. There's no. It's an all volunteer group, which a lot of people don't seem to realize. So, we're not one of those companies that has a big
Payroll.
price tag for the CEO and all that good stuff and golden parachutes and all that. No, we put our money right towards the veterans, and we're very proud of that.
Yeah, we have every right to be. So another nice turnout here early. It's a little bit after 6, and shortly we should be getting the sound of sirens on the horizon.
They just called. They were getting ready to mount up maybe 4 or 5 minutes ago, so it won't be long now. They'll be down.
Okay, and a couple of World War II people involved today?
Yeah, we got 2 World War II vets that are coming. One is a little bit fragile, and he didn't feel comfortable taking the trip, so we're going to put him through the ceremony and give him everything we can do. He just won't be flying out today. And the other one, Mr. Reinhardt, is excited to go. He's a great guy. Some great stories, and we're honored to have. Anytime you get a World War II vet.
He's 96, is he?
96, I believe.
And the other guy's 100.
And he turned 100 in February. So, yeah. That gets us back to our roots, back to when this whole thing started with the World War II guys. So
it was started for World War II, and now it's.
We still fly the World War II flag, and awfully proud to have that.
All right. So I imagine you probably got some things to do here, Barry.
I got a couple things to catch up on.
Thanks for taking time to chat with us.
Thanks, buddy. Anytime. Thanks for being here.
All right, Mr. Barry Finnegan.
Are you delivering that to somebody?
All right, as Barry was saying, that this can't happen without a lot of fundraising, and I heard that Mr. John Roberts here, that you're involved with a little bit of that fundraising.
Yes, I represent the 30,000 retired and active correction officers for New York State for the Northern Region in Niscoba, and we do an annual golf tournament, and this year we donated $17,000 for these American heroes. We're proud to sponsor them to keep this flight going, to give back to them, because without them we wouldn't have everything that we have today and our freedoms. So we're just very appreciative of them, so we try to show our support and give back.
All right, and how far-ranging is your branch of the Niscopa?
The Northern Region covers down from Albany Training Academy all the way to Ogdensburg, New York, of Riverview Correctional Facility, encompassing nine facilities, and also the Training Academy.
All right, and in addition to the golf tournament, I imagine once in a while somebody will just throw in a check.
Oh yes, these men and women have opened their wallets, especially over COVID when it was harder to get people together, and Mr. Finnegan had came out and met with us and actually attended the tournament with us, and he was very surprised on how everybody donated and opened the wallets up. But like we said, these men and women are heroes, and we're just trying to give back to them and support them so this flight can continue on for many more years to come.
All right, well, it's very, very generous, and hopefully that'll continue well into the future.
Yes, hope so.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. And your position with the Niscopa, John?
I'm the Northern Region Vice President.
Okay, thank you. Heard bells ringing, but I think that was just to let the cows know it's time to come in. Okay, we were busy chatting, and we heard them. We heard them. This has been the new norm here this year. Escort, bringing them in here. I can't stand here because I'll be right where the bikes will be parking. So we'll continue to walk. Morrisonville, Clinton County Sheriff's, New York State Police, Essex County Sheriff's Department, Plattsburgh City Police, State Police, Clinton County Sheriff's Department, New York State Police, as we point out every time, the bikers have been part of this since the very first escort. I believe it was 2013, our first trip was, they gathered here, then went to Albany. They caught the flight out of Albany. Since that first one, all the other flights have been out of Plattsburgh. But that first year, and it was a crisp morning, temperature in the upper 30s, and those bikers driving down that Northway, a long, long ride. And they're still coming as far as the eye can see here. State Police, State Police, and we're going to move up here and see if we can get underneath this tree and get the sign out of our view. A lot of dew in the grass. State Police, U.S. Customs and Border Protection. District 3, State Police, the Honor Flight bus, Mr. Barber at the wheel. See a Vermont license plate. There are veterans from Vermont included. I believe one of the World War II veterans is from Milton, I believe. We'll know more about that once Janet starts reading the information. Janet Dupree. Sheriff's Department, Clinton County. State Police, and a few more bikers. of people showing up that want to be here supporting the veterans. So that's about just under a 7-minute view of the folks arriving here. As we said, we had to vacate that area because that's where the bikes are parked. And give you an idea of the number of folks gathered here, all arriving within the last 7.5 minutes. A lot of familiar faces every time. The bus is there. Normally there's also a school bus, a yellow school bus, but I don't think I see it. The speakers here all put up courtesy of Larry Ebert. He's one of the folks, along with that Wendell Hughes with his short sleeves on, arrive here by 4 o'clock and start getting this all set up. There's the yellow school bus. There's Wendell. Kevin Triller, who provided the lights that Barry mentioned, over there helping. Janet Dupree, who'll be reading all the names. I don't know if somebody just delivered a wheelchair here for a veteran, I guess. Like I said, the American Legion 912, the Sons of the Legion, the Auxiliary, along with other veterans organizations, have long been a part of this. So the
truck looks pretty good.
some veterans are more agile than others. They all have an escort that'll go with them. So when the honor flight is paying for the veteran, they're also paying. I'm not sure if they pay for the escort or if the escort has to find their own funding. I'm not entirely certain on that. The youngest legal World War II veteran, the war ended in 1945, as we've mentioned several times, would have been born in 1927 and make him 18 in 1945. Some people lied about their age and got in before their 18th birthday. And but so if you're born in 27, you're 96 this year. So the World War II veterans are getting older and older all the time, the ones that we still have with us. But it's all veterans. If you served in the military, obviously they're trying to get the oldest ones first, and the ones in most need, the younger groups. Sometimes there are people with health problems. but the Korean and the Vietnam veterans are their priority now. With fewer and fewer World War II veterans, but they will send a younger, recent veteran if it's necessitated, and they have done that several times. Oh, again, lots of folks arriving here. Tom Halleck will be the MC again, as always. And the names are put on the side of the bus in one of these yellow bombs, I guess you'd have to call them. I may not get a chance to mention it to any of the people involved here, but just so they're aware, there's a couple of these at least, that are coming loose, and it'd be unfortunate to lose those and not know about it. So anybody involved with the honor flight, inspect the bus, 'cause there's at least a couple of them that are coming off. I tried to flatten them down, but they wouldn't stay. They need some super glue or something to keep them down. Raising of the flag, veterans organizations. Rifle squad over that way.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Honor Flights number 48 and 49. When these folks all sit it over here finally get back tonight, we'll have sent 760 veterans on this triple flight.
760.
I'm going to send out a huge thank you. These two flights, both together, are being sponsored by NYSCOBA. Those folks have done fundraisers for 5 years now and raised over $50,000 to keep this operation going. Without them, we wouldn't be flying anywhere. So we really appreciate their efforts and everybody else that helps us out. A couple of things I want to point out. I want to send over a huge thank you to Hannaford over here for putting out the drinks and the snacks. Appreciate them coming. And also I'd like to thank Sam's for sending over the dish plates for the coffee over here. And they are always such a big help to us. They also supply the coffee and the creamers and all that. So big help to all of us. Thank you. Unfortunately, every once in a while, we lose somebody that's a member of our Honor Flight family. Coming up on almost a year ago, we lost a 40-year-old who should have never lost that early, but we lost Max Waits III. He was the Essex County Emergency Services Director. Max had decades of service to his community with the Jay Fire Department and the Volunteer Ambulance Squad in Ausable Force. Max was also a Navy veteran. Max had also wanted to sponsor a veteran that goes on this honor flight. His actions for his community will never be forgotten, And we appreciate the family for making a donation to North Country Honor Plate in his memory. I can guarantee you his memory will not be forgotten. Thank you. We've also got another first today. Anybody who's ever paid attention to the parade route over to the airport, you'll always see that bus leading the way, and you'll see a red Jeep right behind it. That red Jeep belonged to a guy named Dave Drolat. Also a veteran, so much for his community. Dave was heavily involved with taking care of animals, and you know, there's a saying that says you can tell the makeup of a man by the way he treats his animals. And nobody will argue that the way Dave treated his animals tells you what he was all about. We're going to miss Dave in that red Jeep. We've got an honorary driver for today. Mike is going to drive his Jeep in the parade. But we're going to miss that red Jeep with the flags flying behind that bus. There is a memorial ride today at 2 o'clock, meeting at the Crew Fire Department, and a celebration of life out at Penny's at about 3:30 if anybody's interested. Dave, we're going to miss you, buddy. Thank you. And once again, I want to welcome back Tom Hallett from Mountain Lake PBS. Does a great job as our MC, and we'd be lost without him. Tom Hallett.
Thank you, Barry. It's an honor to be here. Welcome, everyone. What a great turnout. Let's get things started this morning. We are going to begin with Vietnam veteran Glenn Miller here with the singing of our national anthem.
Did you get him before we had to come through the copyrighted song?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Glenn. Fantastic. Please remain standing if you would for our Pledge of Allegiance. And joining me to do that this morning is Hayden Devlin, 7th grader at Osceola Valley Central School. Hayden, you know very well, he's been a fundraiser for the honor flag, raising thousands of dollars to send the veterans who are walking disease. Good morning, Hayden. I'd like to introduce some of the elected officials and dignitaries here with us this morning. Please welcome New York State Senator Dan Stett, New York Assemblyman Billy Jones, the Mayor of the City of Plattsburgh, Chris Rosenquist, the Supervisor for the Town of Plattsburgh, Michael Cashman, and we're happy to be joined by some members of the Clinton County Legislature this morning. Dave Dizio, Francis Puryear, Wendell Hughes, and of course Calvin Kastner, all here with us. And now it is my distinct honor to welcome John Roberts, Vice President from Manitoba, to talk about sponsoring the flight today. John.
On behalf of the 30,000 active, retired, and working correction officers across New York State, we are very proud today to sponsor these flights for these American heroes. If it wasn't for these men and women, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we're here to have today. So on behalf of all of us here in North Country, thank you very much. Have a good flight.
Thank you, John.
We expected to be able to
And it is
swing
now
over
my
there and
pleasure
see
to
John.
welcome Heidi Glover of the
Where'd he
Morrisonville
go?
Elementary School Choir. Their original song, Red, White, and Blue. Nice to have them back.
Red, white, and blue. And the school assignment along with Roy Hurd many years ago.
Heidi. It's now my honor to introduce the Clinton County American Legion Commander, Joe Patno, to pay tribute to honor flight veterans that have passed since our last flight.
Before everyone, I want to take in here. For those who join, I'm going to read the names. After I read the names, both 20 will do a firing detail. After that, we'll have Pat, and then we're going to have the Amazing Grace by the Placer City Police Department. Arthur Flager, flight number 4. John Carmel, flight number 18. Kenneth Hines, flight number 28. Roger Miller, flight 43. James Richards, flight 46. Armin Primo, flight 47.
Joe. Now, please join me in welcoming country music entertainer Larry Lee Eber, singing of More Than a Name on the Wall.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out and honoring these veterans on a trip of a lifetime. I know on the back of my truck I've got written, all gave some and some gave all. There's 58,000 names on the Vietnam Wall. Just a curiosity, show of hands of how many that are here that are veterans right here in the crowd, and how many have veterans that are still alive, still with them from that era and stuff. So this next song, if you ever, or should you ever visit Washington, D.C., you should see the wall. And you should touch it, and it will touch you. So this next song is for all those whose names are there, and for all those who risked having their names there on the wall. Saw her from a distance as she walked up to the wall. In her hand she held some flowers as the tears began to fall. And she took out pen and paper as to trace her memory. She looked up to heaven, and the words she said were these. She said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. And oh, I'd love to see him just one more time, you see. All I have are the memories and the moments to recall. So Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on a wall? Said he really missed the family, being home on Christmas Day. And he died for God and country in a place so far away. I remember just a little boy playing war since he was 3. But Lord, this time I know he's not coming home to me. She said, Lord, my boy was special, and he meant so much to me. And oh, I'd love to see him, but I know it just can't be. So I thank you for my memory and the moments to recall. But Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on a wall? Lord, could you tell him he's more than a name on a wall? Thank you.
Still Larry, you there?
Thank you, Larry. Please welcome now Mike Carroll in our closing prayer. Good morning. And good morning, Flight 48 and 49. This is your day that you've been waiting for. And it looks like people in Plattsburgh are here to help send you off with a very, very warm welcome. This is your day. I'll be reading from a World War II devotional handbook, Strength for Service to God and Country. 81 years ago, September 2nd, Edwin McNeil Poteet from the Euclid Avenue Baptist Church in Cleveland, Ohio, writes the devotion for Formula for a Soldier's Success. Have not I commanded thee? Be strong and of good courage. Be not dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee wherever thou go. Joshua 9:1-9. And the prayer for today is, if we bow our heads, please. Eternal God, who has ordained the laws which man must live, and who has not changed in thy love for the children of men, give us wisdom, courage, and strength to do thy will as each day reveals it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord, amen. Flight 48 and 49, I'd like to thank you for your service. Thank you for my freedom. May this day be found an amazing day to you, and may there be moments where you reflect and you find God's purpose. Godspeed. Thank you, Mike. It's now my honor to welcome the Director of Operations, Janet Dupree, to introduce our veterans.
Okay, we'll keep the camera rolling as we get set to in position here, because they'll be marching right by this direction, heading for the buses.
I need it. On Flight 48, our flight leader is Valerie Triller. Once again, I'm given the absolute privilege of reading the bios for these amazing veterans. And I know that all of you, as you always do, will show your utmost respect. Clayton Bicycle, U.S. Army Air Corps, 1943-1946, World War II. Clayton, yeah, absolutely. Clayton, a junior, left Boys Vocational School to help his family. After basic training in Florida and South Carolina, Clayton, rifle range instructor, developed training programs. Clayton was in Scotland on D-Day. Ordered to England, Clayton, a supply clerk, performed various duties. Given one break, Clayton joined a convoy to Lowestoft Beach. He said Canadian soldiers looked rough, but the Canadian girls looked real good. In London, Clayton served officers in the mess hall. A great fan, Clayton's best experience was serving meals to Glenn Miller and his big band. Flying to Germany, Clayton spent 12 months as a mail courier, picking up and delivering correspondence between headquarters. Driving a Jeep, Clayton traveled across bombed out roads, driving around any big holes. Germans strung razor wire across the roads. The wire went through the windshields. It would take the driver's head off. Bumper strips with metal posts kept the wire from going through the windshields. Returning stateside, Clayton spent a week aboard ships, sleeping in hammocks, 5 deep, one on top of the other. Clayton was given $20 to get home. Eyesight issues kept Clayton from combat, saying experiences for those who were in combat were so much greater than his own. Asked the best part of his enlistment, Clayton quickly said, discharge. 2 weeks shy of their 75th wedding anniversary, Clayton's wife Lorraine passed. On February 22nd, Clayton celebrated his 100th birthday, and let's hear it for Clayton Bicycle.
He will not be going on the flight today. That's it.
Peter Babby, U.S. Marine Corps, 1971-1976, Vietnam era. Peter enlisted and trained as a combat engineer. Peter was stationed at Parris Island, South Carolina, Camp Lejeune, and Camp Geiger, North Carolina. Peter wore many hats, participating in several training sessions and various projects to maintain the installations on those bases. Peter's skills included building Quonset huts and floating bridges. After a 3-day pass, Peter returned to the base to learn he was a day late. The military police put him in handcuffs, sentenced him to months of KP as he made desert for officers instead of his real duties. But let's be clear, Peter did receive an honorary discharge. Peter Babby. Maurice Brown, U.S. Army, 1966-1992, Vietnam. Maurice enlisted at 17 and served for 26 years. Trained in heavy equipment operations and jungle warfare, Maurice went to Germany. He was ordered to Hai Van Pass, Vietnam, along Route 1. Maurice had many tours in Vietnam, enjoying being in control of a bulldozer or uke. Maurice extracted gravel and stone from quarries to make cement and roads, working with the 1st Cavalry building combat landing zones. Maurice spent 3 years in Korea with Ordnance Company. Ordered by the Defense Nuclear Agency, Maurice went to a 1940 nuclear test sites, Marshall Islands, to cap over the radiation with concrete. Maurice Brown. Mark Davey, U.S. Army, 1972-1973, Vietnam. With his father's consent, Maurice enlisted at the age of 17. He received basic training at Fort Gordon, Georgia. Mark was assigned as a radio relay carrier attendant, a position he never served in. Ordered to South Korea, Mark was assigned to duty as the driver for the commander. Mark said his 13 months in South Korea were pretty uneventful. As a curious teenager, Mark traveled to the demilitarized zone, the DMZ, and to the historic site of the Korean Armistice Agreement separating South and North Korea. Mark continues to keep up with his Army comrades. Mark Davey. Deborah Dowd, veteran guardian for Mark Davey, U.S. Air Force, 1974-1980, Vietnam. We believe Mark and, go ahead. We believe Mark and Deborah are the first twins to go on honor flight together. Hey, hold on. She's in charge, you know. Deborah trained at Keesler Air Force Base, Mississippi. Sent to England, Deborah served air control radar maintenance, and she is the first female radar technician to serve in the European theater. At England Air Force Base, Florida, Deborah moved to accounting and financing, allowing her to take advantage of the GI Bill. Deborah Dowd.
The twins.
Barry Fernald, U.S. Army, 1969 to 1971, Vietnam. Receiving a draft notice, Barry trained at Fort Dix, Fort Benning, and Fort McClellan. Barry was sent to Phu Bai, Vietnam. As an unattended ground sensor operator, Barry manned directional sensors placed to a monitor movement of hostile forces, also protecting U.S. military installations and personnel. With hot nights in Vietnam, arriving soldiers slept buck naked until the guns fired at night changed the fully dressed with boots on. One night, Barry felt something running up and down his leg, but he didn't want to know what it was. Barry Fernald. Walter Maddox, U.S. Army, 1945-1952, Korean. After basic and specialized training, Walter joined the 71st Battalion. On a ship for 5 days en route to Korea, the sailors were woken up at 4 a.m. and stayed on the boat until 9:30 p.m. Walter maintained generators for specialized teletype trucks, compounded lighting, electronic fences, working shifts to keep them running 24/7. A Korean houseboy accidentally set off a grenade. Soldiers panicked, thinking it was an enemy attack. 2 planes came in for emergency landings. One crashed and the other parachuted out. Walter lived in a one-man tent, slept in trucks side by side, spent one night in a graveyard. Sent to Guam by mistake, Walter enjoyed 3 weeks of R&R. Flown to Tokyo, Walter stayed in the same hotel as General MacArthur. Walter Maddox. Charles Newsham, U.S. Navy, 1948-1953, Korean. Bad eyesight kept Chuck from flight school. Assigned as a fire control technician, Chuck boarded the USS Rochester, 7th Fleet. President Truman ordered the 7th Fleet into action as the Korean War started. Their first mission was to evacuate U.S. citizens. Chuck was at the Battle of Chosin Reservoir as 130,000 Chinese enemy forces attacked the 1st Marine Division and UN forces. Chuck's ship assisted the soldiers who marched over 70 miles to escape the reservoir. The shelling lasted 2.5 years. Chuck was responsible for precision of large guns, allowing troops to target trains, roads, supply lines, and enemy movements. Given 2 days for R&R, Korean bomber aircraft dropped 4 bombs. 3 hit the ship and bounced off without exploding. Ending his tour, Chuck left his sea bag on his bunk, walked out, and didn't turn back. Charles Newsham. James Pudlow, U.S. Army, 1966-1969, Vietnam. Jim was drafted and sent for training at Fort Jackson, Fort Monmouth. Assigned as a fixed plant carrier repairman, he worked on communications and microwave equipment. Jim spent 14 months at Fort Schaefer, Hawaii, the headquarters for the Asia Pacific region. Transferred to Vietnam, Jim served with the Army Signal Corps near Saigon and Da Nang. Consisting of more than 23,000 soldiers, the mission was to originate, install, operate, and maintain a complex communication system across Southeast Asia under a single unified command. After the Tet Offensive, Jim was able to slow down a little. James Pudlow. Leonard Rior, U.S. Navy, 1955-1958, Cold War. Leonard was assigned to the destroyer USS Hyman DD-732. As a fire control technician, Leonard directed the weapons system, assuring weapons including guns, torpedoes, and hedgehogs accurately struck their enemy targets. Leonard saw the world at seaports in Cuba, Chile, Arctic Circle, France, Greece, Italy, Turkey, Germany, England, and Scotland. Crossing the equator, sailors faced humiliating shenanigans of initiation. Leonard disliked standing watch at midnight to 4 a.m., especially when the workdays started at 5 a.m. Leonard did like the opportunity to taste many varieties of beer. Leonard Rior. Randy Rior, veteran guardian for his dad. U.S. Army. Oh. U.S. Army Reserves, 1985-1997, Desert Storm. Randy enlisted with the 962nd Ordnance Company, 4th Platoon, Plattsburgh. Randy trained in munitions handling and storage. Randy deployed to Germany, preparing munitions for transport to the war in Iraq. Participating with the Canadian Royal Mounted Police, Randy and other soldiers foiled a group of Canadians attempting to steal rockets, missiles, and flares from a depot. Randy Rior. Kenneth Robillard, U.S. Navy, 1967-1968, Vietnam. Ken enlisted at 17, completing basic training at Great Lakes, Illinois. Training as a court reporter, Ken translated legal documents, procedures including trials, depositions, and administrative hearings. Ken's duties were in direct support of the Navy JAG, the legal arm of the Navy. Ken was assigned to a combat helicopter unit. He recalled a court day sitting with 16 sailors in a non-judicial punishment without a court-martial under the Military Code of Military Justice. Ken participated in 4 cruises on the Atlantic, including the aircraft carrier USS Lake Champlain. Kenneth Robillard. Sean Lapierre, veteran guardian for Kenneth Robillard, U.S. Army, 1991-1996 Gulf War. After basic training, Sean attended specialized training as a quarry specialist. In the position, Sean constructed airfields, roads, dams, and buildings by moving tons of material used in cleaning, crushing, drilling, grading, and detonating rock at construction sites. Sean assisted the California Environmental Protection Agency with cleanup of spills on military sites. Sean Lapierre. Glenn Schick, U.S. Air Force, 1977-1985, Cold War. Glenn enlisted and was assigned to transport units, including Plattsburgh Air Force Base. After specialized training, Glenn was assigned to a covert location in Iran designated Desert 1. The team was sent to rescue the 52 embassy hostages kept captive for 444 days. Unfortunately, the rescue aircraft collided with a refueling point, ending the mission unsuccessfully. Glenn received the National Defense Service Medal and Naval Reserve Meritorious Service Medal, recognized by the Combat Operation Joint Task Force in support of Delta Force Operation Eagle Claw. Glenn Schick. Francis Dunsey, U.S. Navy, 1956-1959, Cold War. Frank enlisted at age 17. After training, Frank was assigned to USS Neosho, AO 143, a fuel and cargo replenishment ship. A culinary specialist, Frank fed 350 men 3 meals a day as the ship went from Norfolk up and down the Atlantic coast, across the Atlantic to support the Suez Canal crisis, to Italy, and Special Task Force conducted 3 nuclear weapons tests in the South Atlantic. Crossing the equator, young seamen called polywogs had their heads shaved, were submersed in fuel oil, crawled through weeks of old garbage to achieve the title of shellback. Frank has the photos to prove it. Francis Dunsey. Lucille Trahan, U.S. Air Force, 1954-1956, Cold War. Lucille enlisted shortly after the end of the Korean War. Trained as an administrative specialist, Lucille went to Texas and then to F.E. Warren Air Force Base, Wyoming. In Wyoming, Lucille marched in a local parade with a famous movie star, she won't tell us who. She recalls the women looking better marching than the men did. Enjoying the Wyoming countryside, Lucille truly liked her job and she fell in love with horseback riding. Lucille revealed to the flight leaders that she loved going out with the cooks. She enjoyed meeting people and traveling to various locations. As our only woman on these flights, Lucille Trahan, you're in charge. Howard Turner, U.S. Army, 1967 to 1970, Vietnam. Army Reserves, 1991. After basic training at Fort Knox, Howard went to Fort Leonard Wood for heavy equipment operator. Howard was with a construction team building an 840-foot bridge across the Missouri River. Shipped to Tuy Hoa, Vietnam, Howard worked along the Vietnam National Route 1, Highway 1, the main road to move U.S. forces safely. Leaving the Army, Howard joined the 962nd Ordnance Company, Plattsburgh. Activated in support of Desert Storm, Howard went to Germany, serving as an ammunition inspector for all ordnances being shipped. Howard Turner. We now move on to Flight 49, Flight Leader Kevin Triller. Once again, I know all of you here will give the greatest respect for the group of veterans on Flight 49. Gordon Campo, U.S. Navy, 1967-1970, Vietnam. Already a heavy equipment operator, Gordon skipped basic training, took a leadership course. A Seabee, Gordon served 2 tours in Vietnam. First, Freedom Hill, Da Nang. Gordy had a unique skill, obtaining, trading supplies. Gordy traded a helicopter for concrete and installation of a baseball field. One late night, Gordy acquired a tractor-trailer truck, got a howitzer and a load of ammo. The provost marshal couldn't find the truck or the contents. On his second tour, Gordy became seriously ill. Returned stateside, no help at the VA, a civilian doctor diagnosed parasites requiring several surgeries. Gordon is proud to be healthier now than when he was in the service. Gordon Campo. Frederick Decker, U.S. Army, 1954 to 1957, Korean. As the Korean War escalated, Fred's father told Fred, a high school junior, to join the Army to help support their family of 13. Fred trained as an ordnance specialist. He served as the driver for the company commander. Fred's duties were ensuring the safety, security, accountability of weapons, ammunition, and machinery. He also received, stored, transported, inspected, and disposed of weapons and ammunition. During a special ceremony, Frederick, with his younger brother Philip, received their high school diploma on June 16, 2023. Fred's grandson Eli shared his high school graduation with his grandfather and great uncle, Frederick Decker. Philip Decker, U.S. Navy, 1959-1988, Vietnam. Phil, like Fred, enlisted at 17. Trained in electronic warfare, Phil served aboard key naval warships, supercarrier USS Forstall, CVA-59, USS Sellers, DDG-11, special destroyer modified for surface-to-air missiles. Destroyer USS McKinsey, DD-836. On the coastal waters off Vietnam, Phil had an integral role, Operation Sea Dragon, impeding enemy ships taking supplies to North Vietnam, destroying land targets with naval gunfire. Phil completed 29 years of service to our country as an instructor at the U.S. Naval Academy. Philip surely earned his high school diploma. Congratulations to Frederick and Philip on their many achievements. Philip Decker. Gary Dragoon, U.S. Army, 1967-1969, Vietnam. Gary was drafted. After basic training, Gary trained at Fort Sill as a cannon fire direction specialist. Gary was sent to play Coup Vietnam. Gary loaded ground coordinates into a computer, determining the range, compass bearing, and angle to aim howitzer guns so they could efficiently hit the enemy targets, avoiding endangering U.S. and friendly forces. Due to Gary's accuracy, the howitzer could fire a 200-pound round over 20 miles. Proud of his service, Gary was dismayed when he was told to change into civilian clothes to avoid harassment after his tour. Gary Dragoon. Carl Ketchum, U.S. Army, 1967-1970, Vietnam. Carl enlisted. After basic training, Carl trained in vehicle fleets ranging from staff cars to 5-ton tractor trailers. Carl enjoyed driving staff cars for senior officers and high-ranking government employees. Carl drove from Fort Meade to the Pentagon, National Security Agency, FBI headquarters, and classified sites in Baltimore. Transferred to Germany, Carl's driving skills delivered troops and military field equipment to Joint Forces training areas and U.S. troops to Germany and Czechoslovakia border stations. On a trip, taking a break, Carl realized he was in a neutral zone way too close to the border and quickly exited. Carl Ketchum. Philip Kai, U.S. Air Force, 1966-1970, Vietnam. Philip enlisted, trained as an air freight specialist. Prior to deployment, Phil underwent leg surgery that required 6 months of recovery. The Air Force stopped his pay. A congressman got Phil's payback. Phil's time was limited, so he re-enlisted. Sent to Vietnam, Phil loaded and unloaded aircraft, including the caskets of U.S. soldiers and friendly forces. Not speaking the foreign families' languages, Phil could not communicate with them. While stationed at Glasgow Air Force Base, Montana, Phil met his wife, and they are celebrating 56 years of marriage. Philip Kai. Michael O'Connell, U.S. Army, 1969-1972, Vietnam. Michael had basic training at Fort Dix, advanced training at as an intelligence analyst and censor at the Army Intelligence Center, Maryland. Trained in escape and evasion, Mike was locked in a footlocker, rolled down a hill, and broke his ankle. Sent to Okinawa, Japan, Mike had the option of living on or off base. The monsoon rains kept him on base. Mike studied Indonesian, serving as an area specialist traveling to Taiwan. Mike learned the principle of saluting when he failed to salute a senior officer, as he saluted a tree over and over and over. Michael O'Connell. Ronnie Wilmette, U.S. Army, 1958-1962, Vietnam. Army Reserves, 1962 to 2001. Ronnie enlisted at 17. After basic training, Bucky trained at Fort Devens as medical specialist. He loved driving the Mobile Army Surgical Hospital MASH ambulance. Sent to Germany, Bucky was assigned to 8th Infantry Division, 8th Battalion, the largest ambulance company in Germany. Getting through the base gate, Bucky realized there were benefits to driving an ambulance, as the MPs didn't stop him, making going to the base excuse me. I'm going to start that one over. That's too good to miss. Bucky realized the benefits of driving an ambulance. The MPs didn't stop him, making going to off base to local bars a breeze. Bucky never got caught. Now you know why I had to redo it. Bucky served with the Army Reserves in Elizabethtown and Plattsburgh until 2001. Ronnie Wilmette. Vincent Patnode, U.S. Army, 1971-1973, Vietnam. Drafted, Vincent was sent to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Vincent trained on Honest John missile, a truck-mounted weapon system using an elevated rail launch platform that fired conventional missiles with high explosives. Assigned to South Korea, Vince met the U.S. nuclear support team, who showed him how to carefully aim missiles into North Korea. In the field, tests were noisy as each missile broke the sound barrier twice immediately upon launching. Vince fired missiles along the demilitarized zone, DMZ, close to the North Korean mess hall, blowing their windows out every time. Vincent Patnode. Norris Reinhardt, U.S. Army, 1945-1946, World War II. Norris wanted to enlist in the U.S. Navy to be aboard submarines. Segregation and discrimination denied Norris from the Navy, so he enlisted in the Army. Norris trained as a culinary specialist. His fellow soldiers referred to him as a cook. During basic training, preparing for deployment overseas, Norris received countless shots and medications for inoculations. Unfortunately, The inoculations wreaked havoc with him. He was hospitalized for 6 months, preventing his voluntary deployment overseas. Remaining stateside, Norris prepared meals for other soldiers disembarking for ships overseas and across the United States. Norris was subsequently discharged and returned home. Norris then entered the United States Postal Service, and he was assigned aboard trains as an armed courier. Listen to this date. I received this letter last night. Gotta move it this way. Dated November 7, 1946. Dear friend, writing as a civilian provides me with a high degree of pleasure and overwhelming joy. Reading as a soldier, I'm sure, gives you a depressed feeling. Say hello to all of my friends who fed me when I was hungry. I can't ever forget them and their strengthening hands. May God grant that you be discharged in the near future. Yours truly, Maxwell Scott. Let us now recognize 96-year-old World War II veteran Norris Reinhardt. Stephen Charette, U.S. Army, 1966, 1968, Vietnam. Drafted at 19, Stephen went to Fort Hood, Texas for combat engineer training as he quickly shipped to Vietnam. Stephen's duties included supporting infantry, building helicopter pads, roads, bridges, and tunnels, even removing mines. Recognizing helicopters were the backbone of the forces, the combat engineers knew clean, open landing strips were essential, especially when transporting wounded soldiers. Stephen helped clear the way throughout Vietnam. Stephen liked the black market, when soldiers traded whiskey for truck parts, beer, and steaks. Stephen said the worst beer is Ballantine. Stephen Charette. Ward Charette, U.S. Army, 1966, 1968, Vietnam. Drafted, Ward received training in light artillery. Deployed to Vietnam, Butch spent 23 days on a ship. Butch served 13 months in the Mekong Delta, the largest enemy attack in the war. Light artillery included the M102 howitzer, commonly towed behind trucks. In rough terrain or an urgent need for weapons on the front lines, helicopters dropped weapons by parachute. Butch was blinded by debris from a mortar attack, saying he didn't hit the ground fast enough. Butch would like to forget the crowds booing in San Francisco as the soldiers ended their tours of duty. Some memories you never forget. Ward Charette. Robert Passon. Whoa, guys. Oh, okay, sorry. Robert Passon, Veteran Guardian for Ward Charette. U.S. Coast Guard, 1991-2018. Robert enlisted, initially trained as a mechanic, promoted to Marine Safety Specialist in engineering. Rob was assigned to a remote site 150 miles north of Norm, Alaska, where they maintained a 1,350-foot tower, critical for long-range navigation for ships and aircraft, producing over 1 million megawatts of power. Rob sailed on cutters, tugs, and icebreakers, serving 27 years of service to our country. Robert Passon. John Vino, U.S. Army, 1958-1980, Vietnam era. John trained at Fort Dix as a tanker Army crewman. Trained in the famous Patton first-generation tank M448A5. Preparing for deployment with the National Guard or active duty Army unit, John was assigned to the 172nd Infantry Regiment, specialized in mountainous and cold weather operations. John's unit was the only conventional unit from the original 10th Mountain Division that fought during World War II. John was blown off a tank when a tank inadvertently fired too close to his position, causing a concussion. John is a dedicated citizen soldier, Vermont National Guard, Vermont Strong. John served 20 years in service to our country. John Vino. Robert Wright, U.S. Army, 1963-1965, Vietnam. Drafted, Robert trained as a heavy vehicle driver. Bob was sent to an Army outpost on an ice cap in Greenland, military's most unusual base. Bob supported a 330-ton nuclear power reactor, staying long enough to take it out. Bob traveled on a command train of bulldozers and ice cats over the frozen terrain. Trailers contained repair shops, bunkhouses, and drums of fuel. Supply stops each half hour had blankets and sea rations. Men said, "A woman behind every tree." There were no trees. One USO show may have had a woman or two. Bob recalls snowstorms going sideways, ropes tied between buildings for safety, buildings buried under the snow. Robert Wright. James Wright, veteran guardian for his dad. U.S. Army, 1984-1990, Cold War. James enlisted, trained in tactical transport helicopter repair. Jim was assigned to the 101st Airborne as a Black Hawk crew chief near Seoul, South Korea. Jim flew with the 377th Medevac unit, formerly the 4477th MASH. Jim's unit provided medical evacuation, support to ground forces, transporting wounded soldiers to medical centers, gave timely, efficient medical care to injured soldiers. Flying with the U.S. Surgeon General, who wrote a letter of recommendation to Jim for flight school, James Wright. This completes This completes our bio, and I know you can clap a lot louder than that. Let's hear it.
Thank you, Janet. We want to remind everybody, we thank you, of course, for attending this morning. You are welcome to join the motorcade over to the airport, the FBO, which is located at 1 Alabama Avenue. We will not be going to the airport terminal on this flight. The procession is going to circle the parking lot. The buses will peel off into the FBO hangar, and this time there will be limited views of the veterans boarding the aircraft. But if you would like to be part of the motorcade and go over New York Avenue, wave and say hi to the first responders who line the street and take part in the parade, please do so. And of course, we want to remember and remind you that at around 8:30 tonight, these veterans will be returning back home from their memorable trip. The reception is planned for right here at the U.S. Oval. We hope that you'll be able to make it back here and provide them with a warm welcome home. Thank you so much for turning out this morning. We hope to see you back here in October. Have a good day.
All right, we are watching the parade leave the grounds here. Somebody's playing some copyrighted music, so we have to try to avoid being too close. People don't realize that you got to put a video on if you're playing copyrighted music. The video can be blocked, or it can cause other problems, or you have to mute it. So if you're coming to one of these functions, please don't play your pre-recorded copyrighted music. It's a little different when it's being performed locally. That's a little different, but when you're playing the original artist, causing problems for me, and I have to keep talking here so that the music won't stand out. I had a recent problem with that type of situation at the St. Patrick's annual car show, so we're going to just relocate here and get them as they leave the Oval instead of as they are leaving the parking area. So we have relocated to the area where they are leaving the Oval and heading out to the Plattsburgh International Airport. wrap up our coverage of this send-off for flights 48 and 49, September 2nd, 2023, North Country Honor Flight. And all the people, like the folks at NYSCOPA who worked so hard to make this happen, and Barry Finnegan and others. So thanks for watching and supporting viewer-supported local television TV we think is worthy of your support. Thank you again for watching.